You may not know, my name is Dana Rogers. I am the Chapter Services Manager here at AGA National. And today we're going to be conducting our third NCC meeting of the program year. So, really excited about that. This will be recorded and sent out along with any additional resources that we talk about today. So, if you missed something, it's all good. All right. Let's see. All right, so here is our agenda for today. Just some brief highlights. We're going to have two different breakout sessions, and then I'm going to share with you a few fun and exciting updates that I think a lot of you will be excited about. All right, so to keep it moving. Oops. Okay, so just again, we're going to go over our National Governing Board, also stands for the NGB. I'll probably end up saying NGB throughout this meeting. So we have Mark Allen Mitchell, who is our national president. We have Melinda DeCourt, who is our national president-elect. And we have we're so lucky that she will be speaking here today to give us some opening remarks. Donna Sandoval, our national treasurer, and Atisha Burks, our national treasurer-elect. Okay. Then we have our directors for chapters, also known as our area directors. So if you don't know, here they are. Area 1, that is Ethan Draves. Area 2, we have Claudia O'Hara. Area 3 is Carla Flores. Area 4 is Teresa Miner. Area 5, we have Bobby Derrick. Area 6, we have Kelly Stavenko. Area 7, we have Brian G. And Area 8, we have Paul Lionikis. So hopefully you've been hearing from them, share some shout outs or just get any good information that you need. All right, then moving on, we have our two directors at large. So that is Demeke Adams as well as Bill Colbert. Drew Sadler is our professional certification board chair. And then we have David Zavada, who is our corporate partner advisory group or CPAC chair. And I suppose now, last but not least, we have our chief executive officer, if you don't know, Ann Everett. So that is our full encompassing of the National Governing Board or the NGB. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it. Oh, what? Sorry, I have one more thing. Here is the AGA, a list of the AGA national staff who help things run smoothly here at AGA National. When I do send this out, I'll make sure that people's names are linked on here so that you're able to get into contact with them if you need to. All right, and now, without further ado, I am going to pass the mic over to Susan Frislin, who's going to talk about some opportunities to lead and recognize our leaders that is coming up. So Susan.
Great. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. But yeah, a lot is going on right now. Despite the federal government being shut down, we are keeping busy and continuing on with lots of our programs. And they've had and leadership, it could be through their school, it could be through a chapter, and then really their aspirations for a career in public service and really what they see, what they value at going into public service. And so we're excited about that. As you can see on the screen, the deadline is December 1st, and we typically take anywhere from 10 to 15 students depending on the cadre of folks that apply. And it's an immersive experience. They walk away blown away about a career in government. We typically hook them up with somebody on site, and they mentor them, walk them around, let them introduce people. They can go around to all the people in the solutions hall, the government agencies, private sector folks. And it's just really good to hear the before and after sort of their experience. And if you look in, maybe it was last year, or I don't know, maybe it was this summer, we put an article in the journal because we interviewed them. We've done podcasts, so go check out a podcast really learn a little bit more about their experience. So encourage your college folks in your chapter or your friends or your own or your nieces and nephews to apply for these because it really is a wonderful experience. Sort of in line with that is our National Leadership Awards, which that portal will open next week. But I think one of the misconceptions about all the awards are we get so many nominations, and we really don't. And so I would encourage you to, if you know anybody who you work with or through your chapter that you have, you can see a lens into what they're doing for government. We've got a wide variety of awards for state and local folks, for private sector folks, and for federal folks. So I encourage you to go out there and check those out. Obviously, we'll get the word out to everybody with links and everything. But again, we don't get a ton of them. So I encourage you all to really encourage or nominate these folks and get them the recognition that they so deserve. Another final thing that's happening now is the National Governing Board nominations for the next year that will take effect July 1, 2026. That portal is open right now. So we're looking for folks to nominate themselves for president-elect, treasurer-elect, and one director at large. Next year, sort of in the beginning of the year, is when we'll open the nominations for the directors for chapters. And for next year, it's the odd areas that are going to be opening up. And folks who are eligible for that, it's wider open. At this point, it's NCC reps, it's former chapter presidents, and really any former chapter officer. So really, as NCC reps, we look to you to help succession plan for that in your area. If you're representing one of those areas, we need your help in identifying folks and encouraging them to self-nominate. So with that, we can move. Any questions? No? Okay. Dana, we can move on.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate you sharing those opportunities. And I'm actually going to pass the mic again to Melinda DeCourt, who is the 2025-2026 National President-elect, for her opening remarks. So Melinda, when you are ready.
Hey, thank you, Dana. I wanted to circle back to something that Susan just said. Hey, Dana, would you mind just flipping back to the last slide? Yeah, I wanted to emphasize a little bit on this National Collegiate Leadership Scholarships. I mean, I've seen that in action at prior events, and it's pretty neat to watch the college students interact and get exposed to government. And AGA is going to be participating in an upcoming event. It's called the 2-year Bridge Symposium. It's an event that's happening nationwide on November 14th. And it's being sponsored by the American Accounting Association, but it's being hosted by KPMG, EY, PwC, and Deloitte at various offices across the country. And the whole point of this Bridge Symposium is to encourage students who are currently enrolled in 2-year universities to, and they're considering transferring to a 4-year university and then finishing out their bachelor's degree, to consider accounting as an option. And then in particular, AGA will be there to encourage people to consider government. So I really think that that's one of our missions as leaders here at AGA, is to really encourage the up and coming generation, those college students, to really look at government and consider it, because I don't think they really understand the different opportunities that are out there in government. So I wanted to emphasize that. And also on the National Governing Board positions, I really encourage everybody on this call to think about whether or not you would like to take on even more roles at the national level. And I'll echo something that Susan said. She said, everybody thinks that we get all these nominations and there's too many to count, but that's a true statement. I mean, we rely on self-nomination, so we encourage people to self-nominate. And I'm certainly glad that I self-nominated and went through that selection process. And keep in mind, even if you may not be selected, as part of an initial, self-nomination, that sets you up for future opportunities as well. So if you have interest and you aspire to serve on the national governing board in a position like national president-elect or treasurer-elect, director-at-large, or any of the director for chapters, I would really encourage you to reach out. I'd be glad to talk with you about what it's like to serve on the NGB. Any of your area directors I know would be glad to talk with you about what it means to serve as an area director. So I really encourage you to reach out to those folks and get more information if you're interested. And then I wanted to wrap up my remarks by encouraging everybody to really leverage some of the resources that are available to us. And Dana, would you flip back to the slide where we have Dave Zavada's picture? Yeah, thank you very much. So Dave serves as our chair of our corporate partner advisory group, and he's really been instrumental in helping to do some chapter outreach and helping to support chapters in finding speakers, sponsors for the chapter. And I know down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we recognize that we're probably not going to attract the same sponsors as maybe the Northern Virginia chapter or the DC chapter. We're just not that big, and every chapter is unique and every chapter has their own needs. But Dave really has he has the ability to outreach to the different corporate partners for AGA and even beyond that. And I think we talked about this at the last board meeting, is that it's really important to us that we support the chapters in helping you find speakers, helping you find sponsors if you're looking for sponsors. So leverage Dave to help you navigate that and find some of the corporate sponsors in your area around your chapter that would be willing and able to support the chapter from a variety, not just money, but also through the thought leadership and being active in your CEC, as well as providing speaking opportunities at some of your PDTs that you're putting on. So Dana, that was my prepared remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda, for sharing. I think that was great and very good information to share with the group. Appreciate it. All right, moving right along. So today we're going to be conducting 2 different sets of breakout rooms, like I said earlier. And the first one is going to focus on the topic of chapter event participation. At AGA National, we've heard, let me get to the question first. The main question, there's only one guiding question today in this breakout session, and it is, what helps your chapter get members and non-members to show up for events, especially in-person ones? This is something that we've heard that a lot of chapters might be struggling with, especially in the last 1 or 2 program years. So we think it would be really valuable to have everyone to come together and just kind of talk about what are some strategies that you're using to get people to come to events. And let's say, you don't have any successful strategies, maybe share what didn't work, and you can play off that and talk about ideas that you might have amongst your group. So some things to maybe consider, right? What do you as a chapter find? What motivates individuals to attend events? What types of events draw the best turnout? Are there certain times, days, or locations that work best, right? What forms of outreach or communication get the strongest response? What patterns or lessons stand out when attendance is high, or perhaps when attendance is low? So just like things to consider, but the main topic of this breakout session is just going to be getting people to participate, or how you get people, to participate in your chapter events. So the directions for today and the breakout rooms are going to be a little bit different. Normally we go to our area. Today you're going to be assigned a room. There were some area directors that are unable to make it. So you'll see that some rooms are combined together because it's too hard to change this list. So what's going to happen is I am going to start the breakout rooms. You are going to move yourself to the appropriate group according to the table right here. The table is also in alphabetical order to hopefully make it easier for you to find which group you are going to be in. Area directors, I will move you into the group that you're in because I've had to kind of move them around a little bit.
Hi, Dana, and welcome everybody, and welcome to Melinda DeCourt, our president-elect. I just wanted to pop in for a minute to say hello, let you guys know how much I support the discussions at this level. I'm a chapter person and totally get it. And I've got another commitment I have to pop off for, but I just wanted to say hi. And I was in Ethan Drave's group, and we had some real good discussion and sharing ideas. And I'm sure Ethan will report out some of those things. So just want to say hi.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing. I feel like that leads perfectly into Ethan sharing something big from your group or something that was insightful with us.
All
Lucky number.
right. So one of the things that came up is a better way to share the virtual events. And I know we used to have the calendar where chapters could add their events to the national calendar. And there was the question, is that feature going to come back at the website at some point, or?
It is, yes, that's a great question. It is coming back. I've actually talked with the team. We're right now working on like a lot of those tech requests, so hopefully sooner rather than later, but I'll be sure to update you when it's live.
Yeah. In the meantime, what I've told people is you can reach out to your area directors because we have a list of NCC reps and presidents. So if you have things you want to get sent out to other chapters, you can always reach out to your area directors.
That is great advice. Thank you, Ethan.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna call on, I don't know if you saw my message. This is not an area director, but I really loved one of the things she said. So Catherine, yes, Catherine, sorry. I almost called you Catherine Albany. Catherine Hogan from Albany. I know that you had shared something that you guys do like chapter champions. So I was wondering if you'd be willing to share that with the group.
Sure. Definitely not my idea, so I don't want to take credit for it, but one of our CEC members started what he calls a chapter champion initiative, where he's reached out to people who work for some of the larger state agencies. Being the state capital, most of our membership is state and local government, mostly state, honestly, to give them information on what's going on with the chapter, what our different educational events or customer or community service events are, and he'll send that to them and ask them to disseminate the information with the people they work with. And that seems to have worked pretty well to get the message out to people. I know I've done that where I work, where I'll send out information about upcoming events to people I think might be interested. And, people don't tend to sign up when they actually have the information given to them directly, rather than having to try to find it in a constant contact or a newsletter.
Thank you, Catherine, for sharing. That was wonderful. And I also just want to well, actually, let me open the floor. Does any other area directors, maybe Melinda, Carla, Claudia, Teresa, anything you'd like to share?
Hey, Dana, since Catherine was on my group, I'll just add one more thing that came out in our discussion was the idea of multiple chapters hosting the same event. There were a couple of the chapters that mentioned that, like Richmond being one of them, as well as Montgomery PG, right, where they have an event that is hosted by various chapters in the local commuting area. It doesn't work for everybody, right? If you have a very large geographical span, but if you have if you have a couple of chapters in your area, that might be a good thing to leverage each other to host a common event.
Thank you, Carla, for sharing. I would agree with that. Partnerships always make it a little easier. And Melinda, did you have something that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, we started just kind of talking about, I was talking through just when we were, and I was talking about from the perspective of the Dallas chapter, but before COVID, how that was playing out. And one of the things that we did was we picked a really just nice event center. And we were doing our events at what's called the City Club, which is in downtown Dallas, and it's at the top of the Bank of America building. And so you took a elevator up like 30 floors, and you had this beautiful view of the Dallas, downtown Dallas, and the meal was very nice. And now we always lost money on this, or we barely broke even on this, because it was cost a lot to rent out the city center or the City Club, but it was the attraction that got people to come to the event. Really, I mean, I think they enjoyed the CPE too, but I mean, the idea of going downtown to an event, to a location like that, there was just a lot of attraction for people. But COVID just decimated that for us, and we weren't able to do that anymore. So we've really had to figure out other venues that made sense. So that was really the theme that came out. So the Denver chapter was yeah, just expressing a similar sentiment that, you know, trying some different locations, trying to be centrally located near downtown, near the Federal Center. And then, but, you know, just struggling to get that in-person membership or that in-person participation back, which I think, you know, that is the challenge right now. I know the Inland Empire chapter was talking about how, you know, the county and in particular, one office drives most of their members. So of course, the events are going to be situated around those, you know, that location, because that's where most of the people are, and it's easier for them to be there. But yeah, you know, having to focusing on finding a free location as well as something that's centrally located. But you know, Anthony also talked a little bit about how they've been trying to focus on some community service events that you know, outside of the office, not a CPE event, but just a community service event to help attract more attention to AGA and get people to come out and be a little bit more active. And then we talked a little bit about from the Mid-Missouri chapters perspective, and I'm going to Mid-Missouri tomorrow, and I'll be speaking at their PDT, which is over the course of tomorrow and Friday. I'll be speaking on Friday. So just you know, really the same challenges that I know we're all seeing. It's just struggling with the in-person participation. And that can be attributable to a number of things. Just people are they're accustomed to being able to participate through Zoom or Teams, and why go in person if you can go virtually. But Mark was just saying that because of various factors like loss of federal members and loss of some of the county members, that's also impacting the participation at these actual in-person PDTs. But similar line of thinking is that, you know, trying to find those central locations that people can go to, that it's easy for them to get there. And of course, ideally a free location, so that it's not costing the chapter money to attend. But I do think, yeah, I know that the whole question that we were chatting about is how do you attract the in-person attendees? And I know I don't have the magic answer for sure. I don't think any of us have the magic answer, but it's going to definitely drive based on what your membership base is. But I think the theme is clear, is that, you know, having that central location and being and having that participation by your employers that are supporting of AGA will help drive that attendance.
Thank you, Melinda, for sharing. That was very insightful. I'm going to keep the ball rolling so we can get a little from everyone. Claudia, yes. And then James.
Thanks, Dana.
Uh-huh.
Two things that we're discussing in the group that I was in to draw participation. One of the chapters uses a raffle for their in-person event, and they advertised it in the event marketing that they're going to have a raffle, so that they have to be in person, you know, to win the raffle. And they raffle a membership to AGA, so that, you know, the person that comes and win the raffle and then becomes a member, so it also helps with membership. And one of the questions in the group was if the person that wins it like actually stays and pays the next years as AGA member, and the answer was yes, because of the value that they receive from the chapter in AGA. And another thing that was discussed was sending meeting invites of the event, like once you register, because sometimes, you know, life happens and people get so like caught up in everything that's going on that they forget that they register for something. So if we have it in our calendar to remind us, then we'll remember that we have that commitment to go to that event at that particular point in time. Over.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia, for sharing. And I'll also, just so everyone knows, I am compiling these responses on a document, and I'll send that out along with the slides. Yes, James.
Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier, making sure you got a central location. Our Boise metro area, one of the things that was a big complaint, we do one big 2-day event every year for PDT, big training event. And one of the big complaints was the locations. And we found a new location 2 years ago. And it's essentially central in the Boise Valley, plenty of parking, and the food is phenomenal. And it seems to have helped us a little bit with attendance, because some of the other locations, we fought one year with not enough parking at the hotel, despite them saying they had enough. And some of our members had their cars towed, which did not go over well. So just that's something we've learned, is make sure that the hotel and wherever you're at is central, plenty of parking, the temperature of the room's good, and the food's great, and people will tend to attend, even in some ways, even more than what's being presented at sometimes. But those were 2 keys that I think is going to help us start improving on our end.
Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that, and especially sharing something that you've learned from your experience. All great points there. Some other things that I heard, I thought that I've heard from a few different chapters that they've had successes with, is trying to plan events in the morning, or a lot of like lunch and learn sorts of things. They found a lot of people at this point have trouble committing to in-person events after work. So that's one tidbit there. Also providing food. People love a good lunch or a breakfast or something to that regard. And then one other thing I wanted to call out, the Central Ohio chapter in a good way. They recently sent their PDT event invite to members within the area that weren't a part of their chapter. So I believe they did that from the membership directory. Derek, I don't know if you have any insight on that. But sometimes we found that there are a bunch of people that are a part of the at-large chapter that live, I don't know, let's say in Washington, D.C., right? So sometimes it can be good to go look in that membership directory, see if there are people that live in your area but aren't a part of your chapter, and, ask them if they would like to come to your event. Not only can that bring in more people, but more members for your chapter as well. Thank you guys all for participating in that breakout session. There's a lot of really good conversation going. And, oops, sorry, I forgot to put that. Now we are going to head to our 5-minute break. All right, so for the sake of time here today, we're going to get started. Like I said, we're going to have 2 breakout sessions. So now we're talking about the second one. And the focus of this one is going to be succession planning. Every chapter faces the challenge of finding and preparing the next set of leaders. So here are some things that we think would be useful to discuss during the breakout sessions to help make the process intentional and successful. So starting off here, what does the timing look like, right? Timing matters. Succession conversations should happen throughout the year. So think about, how can you make succession planning part of your regular leadership discussions rather than something that's a last-minute scramble? And if you do already do that, maybe share with the group how. How does your chapter engage members in succession planning? How do you find people? Think about where new leaders might emerge. Is it through events? Is it committees, mentoring, direct outreach? So think about sharing what strategies have worked or have not worked in helping new members see themselves as leaders. What communication or documentation helps keep leadership transitions organized and transparent? So something to think about is, are your leadership transitions smooth or are they stressful, right? Do your outgoing and incoming officers meet to hand things off? Is there a checklist, which kind of is my second bullet? Is there a shared file, right? How do you make sure that the institutional knowledge doesn't get lost from year to year? And another thing as well is being transparent about the role, right? When people know what's expected and that they'll have support, leadership can tend to feel less intimidating and a little bit more doable. So setting clear expectations can turn some people's hesitation into stepping into a role into a yes. So, all right. So do we have any volunteers who would like to tell us an insight or a takeaway that they have from their breakout room discussion? Yes, Claudia, thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Mhm.
From the discussion that we had in the breakout room that I was in, breakout room 2, an idea that one of the participants brought in was an idea from their organization of having a questionnaire filled out by the members with their role and what they did and the information that they have for the role. Like a speaker's information that they have, and have that available for the next person that assumes the role, and have that in like our shared drive for the chapter as a resource for the next person that is going to take the position, or as a resource for the chapter leadership.
I love that idea. I think that's a great idea. And if you leave it in your drive, the next person that comes in can always add to that document. And I think it's great. A great idea. Thanks for sharing, Claudia. Yes, Teresa.
Yes. Catherine from West Virginia, she shared about the Google Drive that is provided free by national that a lot of us are not using, and my chapter is guilty of that. I think that's something that we all need to use. They save all of their documents out there, and everybody on their CEC board has access to it. So that way everyone knows what's going on when a new leadership comes on, especially if someone was to leave. And you can't get into the different email accounts or whatever it is. That way is more than one person has access to that information. So I think that's a good idea because, when we keep paper or save it to our personal drive, switch jobs, it get lost.
Yes, I would agree. I think for a lot of people, it feels like an extra hole like putting it into the Google Drive. But I'm trying to say it is, there's long-term benefits. It'll be worth it in the long run to know that that's that spot where you can look at for all your chapter stuff. And just eliminate some confusion, right? Like, is it in your folder? Is it mine? This way, it's in the Google Drive. So thank you for sharing, Teresa. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. Do we have any other volunteers?
Hey, Dana, I can go next.
Thank you,
Two
Carla.
things. Something that came up in our breakout room was, especially with student membership and kind of like engaging folks early on, right? That's how I got involved with the AGA, was fresh out of college. We have a couple of our chapters that actually have a student chair as part of their early career board or as part of the main governing board. So having I think a student chair is a great idea to get folks to engage early on and be able to continue create that little pipeline, right? For work that they can do early on, maybe behind the scenes, and then little by little start gaining some of those leadership skills and move into some of the larger roles in the chapter. Something I think that a lot of us do is the cycle at the very top of like, you're the incoming president, then you become the president, then you become the NCC rep, kind of like having that scaffolding, right, of roles. It creates a little bit of a buffer in continuity, at least at the very top. But some of the chapters in my breakout are struggling with the continuity on their programs or education side of the house. And for that one in Dallas, I know Melinda actually started this when we used to host in-person events, was having a checklist of all of the things we have to do to run a successful event. So when we moved to virtual, we did the same. We just turned that We turned that into a spreadsheet that was just basically our checklist of when do we need to do what for each of the pieces of producing that event. And that has been super helpful because we've been able to turn that over to the next program director to then just use it as they're planning the new event.
Oops, sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Carla, for sharing. I think that's a great idea. It makes it easier for that next person coming in with the checklist, definitely. And easier to ask questions, anticipate what to expect, just being transparent. All right, let's see, do we have any other? Maybe I'll just throw the question out there, like, how is it that you find new chapter leaders? Does anyone have anything on that? Like, is it through events?
Hey Dana, I don't really have anything on that, but we
Okay,
do
that's
try
okay.
to do it at our events. We always have a survey at the bottom, like, are you interested in being on the board? And then we kind of, if we know what board position will be open, we have the description of what they'll do there. So we do ask that at our PDT. And then the other thing I was gonna say about our chapter is for the succession planning, and it's gonna lead into our next topic, lead. So lead, you learn a lot of great stuff there, and what you need for a successful CEC. But it was brought up that that happens a little bit too late. Like usually you pretty much have your CEC picked by the time you go to lead. So the other thing we talked about is if you get on all of the town hall meetings, that usually provides a lot of the good, useful information that you will also get at lead there. So if you start looking at that or attending those before you actually pick your CEC, you'll have a good idea of who would be good candidates in your chapter to do that.
That is a great idea. Thank you for sharing that, Ethan. All right, I'll give it the 30-second pause, see if we have any last minute things to share. All right, well, thank you all for participating in the breakout sessions. I hope that you found the topics useful and you were able to, collaborate with different chapters throughout the US. All right, so next we're going to talk about some remaining program year opportunities. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think you're going to be happy to hear about. So if you have stepped away and you can come back, I think this would be a great time. So first things first, your chapter websites are now live and they are ready for you to use. I know that this has been a long process. We would like to thank you very, very much for your patience throughout this unexpected occurrence, but good news, they are live and they are ready. So I'm going to tell you a few different things for you guys to know. So first thing first, only webmasters have editing access to chapter websites. So if you only have one webmaster on your roster and you want 4 other ones, send those people, send their name and their AGA ID to me, and I can add them to your chapter roster so that everyone that you'd like to have editing access to your website is able to do so. There is no restriction on you just having 1 webmaster or 5. It's really up to what your chapter wants. So that's the first thing there. Second thing is that your old website is still the one that's visible on the chapters section of the AGA's website, right? We don't want you to think like, oh no, our new website is ready, which means that's what's showing. We have to turn it around really, really fast. There is time to breathe there and make some changes. So the site that you can access is not the live AGA chapter website. The current live site is still the old version. What you're going to be able to see and edit is the new site in a staging environment, which we're using to make updates, finalize content before the launch. So once you guys tell us that everything is added, we'll review it, approve it, and then we will, the new site will then replace the old one. And then last thing here is all historical information can be found on your chapter's old website. So you can find that on the chapter section of the AGA National website as well. So you are going to be receiving instructions within the next week from me on how to edit pages and to work with the new website. That email is going to be sent to whoever is your current webmaster listed on your chapter CEC and the president. So just be on the lookout. Every single chapter should receive an email from me regarding their chapter websites by next Friday. I will guarantee that for you. So everyone, if you've received it already, you will receive it soon. You're able to copy and paste things over from your old website, but with the template that we had, in order to make them for all 80 chapters, we had to duplicate the copies of them, so it wasn't able to upload your specific PDF. Sorry, Alice's question are, do we have to recreate? So it does give you like a template for the website. It does have like, different sections and things like that. But you will have to grab that historical information from your old chapter website and paste it into that new one. Correct. Now, one thing I want to say, I know some of you are like, I have to wait for the email. You do not have to wait for the email from me. I am going to, when I send this out, I am going to, this is linked here for you. So what these are, different links to instructions on how do you log in, how do you, make updates to your logo and change the chapter details, all of that stuff, step-by-step instructions with pictures there. Now we know that this is also going to be, somewhat of a process, obviously transitioning into a new website. So we are going to offer 2 different times of the week to open up for office hours and provide you any support that you need with your websites. So the first one is Tackle It Tuesdays. That's something we've been having for a while. If you don't know about it, wonderful thing. It's just a space for you to come in. That's on Tuesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. Then we're also going to have chapter website office hours on Thursdays, and that will be from 3 to 4 p.m. Okay. And then last thing, just want to note here is that you don't have to, I know that the recreating process might seem overwhelming. There are ways for you to toggle things on and off. So let's say you might want to prioritize, right? I want my events to be on the page at first, along with chapter leaders and maybe the bylaws. Let's say that those are things that are priority to your chapter. You can put those on that new website, toggle off the other sections so they're hidden for now, and then edit as you go along throughout the rest of the program year. So do we have any other questions about this? That's a lot of information. Okay. All right, next thing that we will be discussing, is we've heard your request. We have heard that you want a speaker catalog, and we are providing that for you. So I have compiled a list of different speakers that either AGA has used in the past or different chapters have used in the past. It is in chapter resources, and it is, I think it's chapter resources and then meetings and events. So there is a link to that, and I will continuously update that link as I get new speakers. So on the top are the most recent ones that I've reached out to personally, made sure that their topics, whether they speak virtual, in person, etc. All of that is listed on that spreadsheet. So hopefully you find that to be a really great resource for you. I'll also link that, excuse me, in my follow-up email as well. Now, how did I create this list? I did need some submissions. So if your chapter has had a speaker who truly impressed your members, you were like, this person is amazing, we'd love to share this, feel free to share that recommendation. There is a Google form, and that also is located underneath the speaker catalog on chapter resources of our website. It just asks basics like what are their name, contact information, what type of event they hold, in person, virtual. From there, I take that, I contact that person, make sure they're okay with it, and then I'll add it to the speaker catalog. So hopefully we find this resource to be helpful as well. All right, and our third big thing is LEAD 2026. All right, so where is LEAD being held? If you are saying Baltimore, incorrect. This year, LEAD is going to be held at the Renaissance Arlington Capitol View Hotel. So it's actually going to be held in Arlington, Virginia. Some pros here is it is less than a mile from the Ronald Reagan National Airport, quick drive or metro to downtown DC, walkable to dining, parks, and local attractions. So that is a new location this year. Now, second thing When is LEAD? Also new. This year, LEAD will be held from Sunday, July 19th to Monday, July 20th. Some of you are probably noticing, yeah, whoa, these dates have been shifted significantly. And you are correct. LEAD is now scheduled right before PDT, which runs from July 21st to July 23rd. Many of you might be thinking, why did we do this? We did it, we thought that this would be we did it for strategic reasons. Oops. To make the event more valuable to you. So a few reasons that we had thought of here. One trip, right? Twice the value. This way you are able to, if you can, knock out both events in one trip. So instead of flying in for LEAD and then having to schedule an expense, a separate trip for PDT, you can attend both back to back. And the way that this schedule works out is the Sunday where LEAD starts to when PDT ends would be the same time frame as PDTs have been in the past. So it's kind of the same amount of time there. LEAD attendees can also receive free airfare. And some of you, if you, for example, are attending LEAD and you get the hotel scholarship for your chapter for PDT, that also might cover your hotel costs. So a win for cost savings and efficiency. Yes, Catherine, you are correct. Catherine's question was, does this mean PDT is going to be in VA, DC during 2026? Yes, PDT is going to be in Washington, DC next year. So our second thought is an immediate impact, right? LEAD typically happens in April and then a few months go by before the program year starts. We were hoping with LEAD happening in July, the new program year has just started. So that means you can take everything you learn, new ideas, strategies, best practices, and then immediately begin implementing them with your chapter. So it's kind of an easier turnaround. And then last thing, I see some questions in the chat. I'll get to those. Is the continuous connection, right? There's holding LEAD immediately before PDT, allows for a really seamless transition between two very vital learning experiences. So we really think that the scheduling will build momentum and maximize your networking opportunities. A lot of time, there's a lot of energy around LEAD and there's a lot of energy around PDT. And I think putting those two things together is going to create an enormous amount of momentum that's really going to be beneficial. So I don't know if this is true, but we're also hoping that maybe this can be an incentive for some of your employers, right? You're presenting a single cohesive package for a week of training. Rather than trying to take several different days off of work or 2 different times of the year. Okay, so PDT is going to be held in a different hotel. However, the location, I believe, is, I want to say, a 10-minute drive. So they're close to each other. It wouldn't be like you're going to LEAD and then you have to go 45 minutes to PDT or something like that. They're very close. If anything, you could take a metro ride. They're also.
I was going to say, Dana, you might not be anticipating DC traffic. It could be 45 minutes.
That's true. But LEAD will end during the day, Crystal. So that's
Yeah,
good.
no, you're right.
Well,
You're right.
ending.
They're
no, you're fine.
yeah,
You're right.
Relationally close. They're
Yes.
close to each other. Just
Exactly.
You never know.
Exactly. So that's the new scoop on LEAD for this year. So who can go to LEAD? Kind of the same thing as it's always been, right? We do require an NCC rep from the 26-27 program year. Now that said, if you're an NCC representative and you've previously attended LEAD, please send another representative and maybe ideally an individual you're considering as your successor. LEAD is really there for new chapter leaders to learn and absorb information, make connections with other chapter leaders. So if you're someone who has been attending and you feel like, I've benefited from LEAD, I would like, yes, I'm the NCC rep for the following program year, but I think X person would learn a lot and should take my place. That is okay. So I just want to put that out there. And then the second person can just be any additional CEC officer for the 26-27 program year. So that it would be 2 different individuals. And then what can attendees expect at LEAD? Opportunities to collaborate, network, quality training, and resources to prepare chapter leaders for the program year. Due to the shift in dates, what I'm thinking of right now is trying to do kind of some a few little webinars before LEAD to help chapter leaders learn about where are chapter resources, right? What is ACE? What does each role do? Are there any questions? Maybe a Q&A with the chapter leader who's held that position prior to LEAD. That way at LEAD, we can focus on some of those bigger topics like membership, retention, recruiting, events, sponsorships, partnerships, etc. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to collaborate with AGA national staff, our NGB, and other chapter leaders throughout the country. So if you commit, but you can't, something happens, totally fine. We get it. Life happens. And sometimes you just can't attend, but please let us know as soon as possible. And will there be any more information about this? Of course there will be. I will be holding a LEAD 26 informational session on February 11th from 2 to 3. And you will get notifications about this session as it gets closer as well. So I'm going to take a second to pause, see if anyone has any questions. Okay. All right. So this says chapter action items, but you got a long time to complete it.
Hey, Dana, quick question. I just want to make sure I got it straight that you're saying that NCC reps, I know in the past, they were required to attend LEAD. You're saying that for this year or for this LEAD coming up in 26, that we have an option to send another individual from the CEC?
Correct. If you've so for example, listen, if you were the NCC rep this year, and then you also plan to be it for the next year, and you've already attended LEAD, you can switch out someone to attend in your spot.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking. All right. You have plenty of time. The attendee registration for this is going to be March 6th. So like the first step there would just be submit who are those people that are attending. There's going to be a Google form for that. You need the legal name, email, and their positions. And then after that, just those people will be looking out for an email from me with information about arranging hotels, travel, etc. So there's plenty of time for this. Actually, we will be meeting at another NCC meeting prior to this deadline, so don't feel like stressed about it right now. I just wanted to put it on your radar. All right, so those are the significant updates I have about LEAD. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me and I will let you know, respond to any questions that you have. All right, so some additional program year opportunity. There are some CGFM courses available. There are live virtual courses. So you can see those in the first 2 bullet points here. And then one thing we wanted to mention is the on-demand online courses. So there is a promotion going on right now. If you use the promo code AGA75 off, you can save $75 per purchase. And that is going on through the end of November. More information about that can be found on our website that is going to be linked in these slides. Okay, some other program year opportunities. We have our NLT scholarship that Susan talked about in the beginning of this meeting. The deadline for that is Sunday, December 1st. Oh, not 2024, I'm sorry, 2025. But nonetheless, on December 1st. Okay. Then we have our LEAD 26. Now notice if you are following the ACE deadlines, I am going to extend that. When I was making the ACE recording template, I didn't realize we changed the dates. So I am going to extend the ACE bonus points deadline to February 20th for LEAD attendees. Again, final deadline being March 6th. And then we have all of our PDT opportunities. So that's Young Professionals Scholarship, PDT Host Committee, Hotel Scholarships, First Time Attendees, and Chapter Awards that are coming up. A lot of these happen in the winter and the spring of next year. And then last but not least, we got a few more meetings. We have one more NCC meeting that will be February 4th of next year. If you are a treasurer or president or a CEC member that would like to attend a treasurer's town hall, we've got 3 more of those coming up. These are also linked to the registrations there. Registration links, sorry. And then the ACE deadline that's coming up soon, the pulse checks are extended to November 8th. So we are able to submit those. That deadline has been extended. Sorry. And the chapter citizen-centric report will be due on November 15th. All right. And that is all I have for today. I'm going to give a second to see if anyone has any questions. But if not, if you have to drop off, I want to say thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always, and I will send out this information to you by tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dana. Appreciate it. You all
Thank
have a
you.
blessed one.
You too. You too.